Hi, it's Trisha Wheeler, author of Peaceful Dinners, and I'm here today with tip number 39 for you. And I wanted to do something extra special, knowing we'll have Valentine's Day coming up soon. And I wanted to show you a technique for cooking lobster. And sometimes I think shellfish, we're intimidated to do them in our own home, especially one that's costly. And you might run across sales on lobster tails and have never cooked one at home. So I want to give you the confidence that you tackle this the next time you see a good deal on a lobster tail and you make this for yourself or for a loved one. So let me show you what your end product is going to look like, and then I'll show you how we got there. So this is a tail that I just took out of the oven, and I actually broiled it for about 4 minutes, and I did this fancy little technique to get the lobster meat to sit on top of the tail. And this is how, when you go to a nice restaurant, you may have been served lobster. So why can't we do this at home? I'm gonna add this to my plate just for my pretty little presentation. And I wanted to show you with a lemon. If you just make a slit halfway down a lemon slice and do this little turn, we can even get this pretty little lemon turn onto our lobster. So that's a really decadent little presentation of our lobster, but I want to show you how we got there. So this is going to take me a second, and I'm going to talk to you while I'm doing it, but I'm going to first put on my gloves. I keep a box of these kitchen gloves in my home so that when there's tasks like this, I'm always prepared. You don't need them, but it makes it a little easier. So you've brought your lobster tail home. You need a good pair of kitchen shears. These are by Cutco. I've mentioned before that this is one of my favorite tools. And you're gonna cut down, you're first gonna loosen a little bit of the skin right at the front, and then you're gonna, as close to the shell as possible, you're gonna cut down the lobster tail in a straight line with your cooking shears. And I'm gonna get down to almost the end, not the tail end, but I'm to right here. And now that I've done that, I'm gonna stick my finger in the lobster, and I'm just gonna start separating the skin. You wanna separate the skin into a whole big chunk away from the shell. So until you do this, you can't really see what I'm doing, but I've got my finger up against the shell, and I'm just pushing the lobster skin. This doesn't hurt or anything. I'm just pushing the lobster skin away from the shell so that I could start the separation process. And this is going to take me a second to just keep going up and down both sides. And then I'm going to do this underneath. And so you're just trying to keep all the lobster meat together and just using your finger as a tool to push that down. Now I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm loosening the meat and separating it from the shell so that I can pull it back out that little hole on top, or the slit on top, and have it sit up there. Now you might be thinking, why would I do this? Well, there's two reasons. One is aesthetics. It's obviously very beautiful, but the other is it helps it cook because it's sitting outside of the shell, and so it's a lot easier for us to test when it's done and make sure that we take an ingredient that's expensive and cook it perfectly. So now I've separated that shell, so you can see my fingers kind of able to move around my piece of lobster kind of in here, and I've got my finger in there. Now I've got my slit. So I'm just gonna kind of ease apart my slit. If you kind of hear a little crack here and there, not a big deal. Now my job is to take my big nice piece of lobster and just manage it up through my slit here. And then I'm gonna have it sit on top. So this is something we do at my house every Christmas Eve. We have this really decadent dinner we do on Christmas Eve, and it's truffle cream pasta, and a lobster tail. So one of us is always doing this little trick to get the lobster meat to sit on top of the shell to serve. And it's really, I mean, once you do this, it's really a 5-minute meal once you put it under the broiler, and you have such a beautiful dinner. So now I have pulled it out, set it on top, and now I'm ready. And if you have a little bit of, like a little string of lobster or something, just tuck it under and make this as pretty as you can. And then the next step would be to sit it on your sheet tray, and I have a little bit of melted butter. This is all I do because the lobster's sweet. The butter just gives it a little glaze, so I've just put a little melted butter on top, and then I would give it a little pinch of salt, and I'd put it under my broiler, watching it closely. But for this size of lobster tail, it's going to be about a 3 to 4 minute. And really the feel test to make sure it feels firm through is really the test that you can do to double check yourself before you pull it out. But you don't want to overcook them, because then they get more rubbery than sweet and delicious. So I'll put some cooking times for some different sizes down below to help you. But hopefully this inspires you to tackle the lobster tail. And I will see you tomorrow.